Hi, everyone. This is The Bottom Line. My name is Kat Shear. I'm your host, and I'm joined with my co-host Scott Schweitzer and Brian Friend. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
Excellent. Ready to go.
Awesome.
Semifinals are just about here.
I know, right? It's very exciting. We haven't had a large-scale live head-to-head competition in a very long time. If you don't count the games, it's been probably over a year. This weekend, we're blessed with two of them. We talked about the MAC last week. We've got one for Oceania. That's going to be the Torian Pro. So we're going to get right into that one. Now, Brian, you've got a story that's coming out today, May 26th, in the morning chalk up. So people can go for all the details, but let's just break down a few of those things. Let's get out of the way the whole COVID conversation, travel restrictions, things like that. Everybody's allowed to go to this one?
Yeah, I think, between all the athletes are from New Zealand or Australia. And so they've worked out a way that they should all be able to get there. There was a little bit of a scare earlier in the week because there were some restrictions put in place in Melbourne based on some things that happened surrounding COVID there. But I reached out to some people at the event, and it seems like all the athletes will be able to get there. And so we should be ready to go.
Awesome. Great. So let's talk a little bit about programming. There's 7 events this weekend?
Yep, 7 events over 3 days.
Okay. So we've got a heavy lift.
Clean and jerk ladder. So it's not just a 1-rep max, but it's a ladder. I think there's either 15 or 16 bars, and they go up in increments of like 3 to 5 kilos. They have a fixed time limit to lift. It should be a super fun event. We've seen events like that at the games before, and they're always fan favorites.
Super fun to watch for sure. A lot of cardio events here. We've got the skier, a runner, a bike, lots of rowing. What do you think about the whole cardiovascular piece of all these?
Yeah, when you do the MWG, monostructural weightlifting gymnastics breakdown, it's much more substantial in terms of movements included than a typical competition would be. It comes out at 665. Usually monostructural is like 2 or 3 compared to 5 or 6 for gymnastics and weightlifting. But 3 of those take place in the first event, the reverse triathlon, and 2 of them take place in the double trouble event with the echo bike and the drag rope double unders, which it's a little bit of a heavy rope anyway. I think it's fine. I think that the way that they've distributed the movements, the time domains are pretty good for what they were given to work with.
Yeah, there's a bunch of workouts there that I'm dying to see and to see who's going to do well with them for sure. Little bit different this weekend too. They've got a memorial workout. So there was a woman named Hannah who was the victim of domestic violence, along with some of her children, and they're doing a workout called HANN, HANN, short for Hannah, that's going to be highlighted at the event. Pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was really cool that Chase Ingram with Get With The Programming reached out to those guys, investigated the origins of that workout, the rep scheme, and how it's representative of her and her children's ages are built in there. It's a really cool thing that they have the opportunity to do that and highlight that on this more kind of global, or at least national, but also global level. So very cool element of the programming, and I think all that athletes and spectators maybe are going to be wearing pink as well. So just kind of a cool, way for the competition to highlight the community, which is obviously the foundation for a lot of what we do.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the teams a little bit. Now, we don't know a whole ton about this. CrossFit has made it very difficult for us to do research around, who's on the teams and who's actually registered as the teammate, the team members and things like that. Do we know anything about what's happening with these teams?
Yeah, so the problem is that the teams have to submit 6 athletes, but or up to 6 athletes. But on the games website, there's no way to know which ones are actually competing, and they actually don't have to make that decision until they show up for registration at the competition. So there's not really the way the rules are currently written. I don't think there's anything CrossFit can do to give us any more information than that. But who's going to go out and reach out to every team and ask them, hey, which 4 are competing? And there's also the possibility that they might not know. They might be making that decision last minute. Maybe someone has an injury, they're unsure. Someone's got to be ready to go in that place. So that's why I think it's difficult to, I don't even know if CrossFit has a better solution than that. I feel like that this is the most unknown we've ever felt about the team competition coming into it. So maybe there is something that they're working with that can make it more clear next time. However, the teams that are competing at Torian Pro specifically the favorites are 64 Army Gold and Reebok CrossFit Frankston. And the 64 Army Gold team only has 4 athletes listed, so we know who's competing there. And Reebok CrossFit Frankston is Rob Forte's team. He has said that he's coaching this weekend. He's the 5th athlete listed, which means we also know those 4 athletes. So at least the top 2 teams, those rosters are actually known. And everyone I've talked to kind of expects it to be a battle between them for 1st and 2nd, with a host of other teams competing for the 3rd and final game spot.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got 3 individual men, 3 individual women, and then 3 teams punching their tickets to Madison at the end of this weekend.
Yep.
Okay. Who do you got? Who are your favorites?
For the individual athletes?
Yeah, men and women.
Yeah, you want the top 3 or just the winners?
Well, we talk about your top 3, and
Sure.
then we'll pick them apart.
Yeah, I think that, the women's field obviously is missing Tia and Jamie, which would be, almost locks to get one of those spots. But Cara Saunders is still there. There's nothing that indicates that she's not, going to be the hands-down favorite and probably run away with this thing. But there's a lot of girls that can compete for those other 2 spots. I like Madeline Sturt and Ellie Turner for this competition. Maddie Sturt is super, super consistent. She's made the games 4 years in a row before last season, which was obviously cut short. She's done really well at Pacific Regionals in the past. And she also had a 2nd and a 4th place finish at the Australian CrossFit Championships during sanctional seasons. Ellie Turner's up-and-coming athlete. She was 6th at the 2020 ACC. She had her best ever open finish, 35th this year. She was 4th in the quarterfinal. Everything seems to be trending her way. I don't think she has any really noticeable weaknesses. I think she'll be pretty consistent across the weekend. And she has a potential to win events, which she did in the quarterfinal in the row wall ball. And usually if you can get 1 or 2 like top 3 finishes, you're consistent everywhere else, that'll be good enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's funny, especially in Australia. You have a lot of big names, and recently they've either been on a team or they've been injured, and so you have a lot of young and up and comers there that a lot of us don't even know their names, but are putting together pretty good seasons.
Yeah, definitely. And look, there's no reason that some of those more veteran athletes, look, Alethea Boone's in the field, Jessica Coughlin, Justine Beath, Courtney Haley, all previous games athletes coming out of this region. Certainly they could be in peak condition and be threatening for those spots, and it would not surprise me based on what I've seen and what I've heard. Those are the picks I'm making, but I know there's probably 8 women that are in the mix for those 3 spots.
Yeah. And I think with COVID too, we just don't know what we don't know. We're not sure how people have been training. And if you're not super active on social media and telling us every day what you're doing, there's going to be some sleepers out there that might surprise us.
Yeah, I mean, Justine Beath was 3rd at the Pacific Regional in 2018 behind Tia and Cara. She hasn't competed in any sanctionals, so who knows what she's been doing the last couple of years. She, by all means, she could be great and take a top 3 spot, pretty handily. But we just haven't seen her compete in a while.
Yeah. Okay. What do you got for the guys?
Well, I've pretty much been told that James Newberry is ready to go. He seems to be very resilient when it comes to returning from injuries. But he seems to be focused and dialed in. So I think that if that's the case, you gotta look at him as one of the favorites to at least finish in the top 3, if not win. But ultimately, I'm picking Jay Crouch. He's a lot of people know him as kind of Rob Forte's protege. He beat James at the 2020 Australian CrossFit Championship. He's been phenomenal through the first 2 parts of the season. So I think that those are kind of the big 2 out front. And then I picked Royce Dunn for the 3rd spot. A lot of other people have had some issues with that pick, but I actually think the programming favors him really well towards the back half of the weekend. And usually at these like regional style competitions, if you're strong in the last 2 or 3 events, those are usually the people who make the games or make the can qualify for the next step. There's a lot of good athletes on the men's side. People know Con Porter, Baden Brown, Brandon Swan, Zeke Grove, all will be in the mix. But there's some other younger guys, John Champion, Evan Morris, Luke McMahon, Luke DeYoung's only 21 years old, that are also going to be, probably flirting with that final heat, last chance qualifier spots. And who knows? I mean, it's going to be a battle on the men's side to get that 3rd spot, I think.
Yeah, Newberry always seems to come to life right at this moment of the season, and it would not shock me to see him win this.
Yeah, he's he's been around for such a long time. He's very consistent. He's always shows up when he needs to. So I think yeah, I'm expecting him to take, first or second.
Yeah. So all of us CrossFit fans are going to have the ability to sort of binge watch CrossFit competitions this weekend, with Australia being about 17 hours difference between here and there. I think Thursday afternoon, everything's going to kick off, and you can pretty much watch straight through between that and the MAC until Sunday afternoon, which is going to be a blast sort of for all of us. I'm very excited for that. Quickly, Scott and myself, let's give our picks 1 and 2. Males, females.
So I just changed my mind as we were recording. I'm going to go James Newberry for the win, and I don't think anybody can beat Cara.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on Cara. She's unbeatable. I mean, again, with the absence of Jamie and Tia, it's all hers and nobody else. I'll be curious to see who sort of runs up the back and fast follows her for the weekend. I'm going with Con Porter. We talked to him recently. He's on a rampage. He's got a lot of these events are in his wheelhouse, and I'm rooting for him. So Con's my pick for number 1 for sure.
Con's a good pick. The thruster chest bar pull-up workout at the end is the type of workout that he can hit a home run in. He's had like similar style event wins worldwide on that, and we've actually seen in Oceania where people have come. Zeke Grove came from outside the final heat to make a qualifying spot one time. So if you can really hit it home in the last workout, you can make up a lot of points, and Con will definitely be good on that workout.
Yeah. The bottom line is, you guys don't miss any of the action this weekend. You never know what kind of stories are going to come out of it. But we'll be there to cover it for you. Brian, as always, it's great to have your insights and analysis. On behalf of Scott and myself, the Morning Chalk Up, this is The Bottom Line. We'll see you next time.